A young man, clad in a school uniform, lay sprawled on the ground, his eyes wide with a mixture of pain and determination. "I will have my revenge," he muttered through gritted teeth. A girl with long, dark hair emerged from the shadows, her gaze fixed on the fallen boy. "Human?" she uttered, her voice a curious whisper. She took a step closer, her expression unreadable. "It's been hundreds of years since the last time I—" Her voice trailed off, leaving her thoughts unfinished. The boy, seemingly unconscious, remained motionless on the cold ground, unaware of the girl's presence and the potential danger lurking nearby. The boy, his eyes blazing with intensity, summoned a surge of magical energy, his hands crackling with power. A young girl with wild, blonde hair floated beside him, a mischievous grin plastered across her face. "Killed a human?" she declared, her voice filled with a chilling nonchalance. Her words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of their meaning. The boy's expression remained resolute, his focus unwavering as he channeled his magic, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Tawa Kazuki, a typical 17-year-old high school student, sat at his desk, engrossed in a book titled The Strongest Hero in Another World. He reached for his glass of water, taking a sip before returning to his reading. With a determined step, he rose from his chair, the book clutched in his hand. As he moved, the scene shifted, showing him opening a door marked "Close." Taking another step, he crossed the threshold, leaving the familiar world behind. He stepped into a vast arena, the roar of the crowd washing over him. Confused, he looked around at the sea of faces. "Oh, this is the one," a booming voice announced. A king, adorned in a crown and extravagant robes, gestured towards him with a wide grin. "The chosen hero," the king proclaimed, his voice echoing through the stadium. The boy, overwhelmed by the sudden attention and the grand spectacle, could only stammer, "Eh?" A menacing figure with a scarred face loomed over the boy, his voice a guttural growl. "Come on now. Show me your power in a duel." He unsheathed a massive sword, the blade gleaming ominously. "This guy looks like a boss from a game," the boy thought, his eyes widening in alarm. "Against Psyche-Doo," the scarred man bellowed, "the guardian deity of our land." He lunged forward with incredible speed, his sword whistling through the air. The boy, caught completely off guard, could only manage a surprised "ooh" as he braced for the attack. His mind raced, trying to comprehend the situation. More importantly, what is this place? He wondered. "I was at home just a second ago, right? Did I fall asleep? I paid a high price to summon you," the scarred man roared, his voice echoing through the arena. "Show me your power in a duel." He drew his sword, its gleaming blade reflecting the light. The boy, overwhelmed by the sudden challenge, stammered, "This guy looks like a boss from a game." He barely had time to register his surroundings before the man lunged, his attack a blur. "Against Psyche-Doo," the man bellowed, "the guardian deity of our land." The boy, his mind reeling, just managed a surprised "ooh" as he instinctively braced for the onslaught. He was completely out of his depth, transported from his ordinary life to this strange arena, facing a fearsome opponent. More importantly, what is this place? He thought frantically. "I was just at home. Did I fall asleep?" A menacing figure loomed over the boy, his scarred face contorted in a grimace. "I paid a high price to summon you," he growled. "Show me your power in a duel." He unsheathed a massive sword, the blade gleaming ominously. The boy, overwhelmed by the sudden challenge, stammered, "This guy looks like a boss from a game." He barely had time to react before the man lunged, his attack a blur. "Against Psyche-Doo," the man bellowed, "the guardian deity of our land." The boy, his mind reeling, just managed a surprised "ooh" as he instinctively braced for the onslaught. He was completely out of his depth, transported from his ordinary life to this strange arena, facing a fearsome opponent. More importantly, what is this place? He thought frantically. "I was just at home. Did I fall asleep? There it is. Psyche-Doo's armor." someone shouted from the crowd. A massive, ornate suit of armor stood gleaming in the arena. The scarred man, his eyes alight with fervor, yelled, "Kill him!" The boy, terrified, watched as the man charged towards him, sword raised high. "Here I come!" the man roared, his face a mask of bloodlust. The boy, paralyzed with fear, could only whisper, Kill me?" He closed his eyes, bracing for the inevitable. But instead of the sharp pain of a blade, he felt a strange tingling sensation. He opened his eyes to see the man frozen mid-air, his sword inches from his face. A look of shock and confusion replaced the bloodlust in the man's eyes. "There it is, Psychido's armor," a voice cried out. The crowd buzzed with excitement as a magnificent suit of armor was revealed. "Kill him!" the scarred man roared, his bloodlust intensifying. The boy, his fear mounting, could only watch as the man charged towards him, sword raised high. "Here I come," the man bellowed, his face contorted in a terrifying grimace. The boy, paralyzed with fear, braced for the fatal blow, whispering, Kill me?" But instead of pain, he felt a strange sensation. He opened his eyes to see the man frozen mid-air, his sword inches from his face. Confusion and shock replaced the bloodlust in the man's eyes. The boy, still trembling, looked down and saw a ring on his finger, glowing faintly. It's a ring?" he mumbled, bewildered. "There it is, Psychido's armor." Someone in the crowd yelled, their voice filled with awe. A magnificent suit of armor stood on a pedestal, gleaming under the arena lights. "Kill him!" the scarred man roared, his bloodlust reaching fever pitch. He charged towards the terrified boy, sword raised high. "Here I come," he bellowed, his face a mask of fury. The boy, paralyzed with fear, squeezed his eyes shut and whimpered, Kill me?" But instead of the searing pain of a blade, he felt a strange tingling sensation. He opened his eyes to find the man frozen mid-air, his sword inches from his face. Confusion and shock replaced the bloodlust in the man's eyes. The boy, still trembling, looked down and noticed a ring on his finger, glowing faintly. It's a ring?" he mumbled, bewildered. The boy stared in disbelief at the ground beneath him. "Ha!" he muttered, his eyes wide with shock. He lifted his hand, only to find it mangled and bloody. "What the hell is that?" he cried out, his voice filled with horror. "Is this my hand?" The scarred man, who moments before had been a fearsome warrior, now lay defeated on the ground, his armor broken. "It hurts. It hurts. It hurts!" he groaned, his voice a mix of pain and disbelief. "What a disappointment!" he wheezed, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The boy, still reeling from the shock of his own injuries, could only watch as the man's life ebbed away. He felt a strange mix of emotions: fear, confusion, and a surprising sense of detachment. The boy, tears streaming down his face, pleaded, Save me." He looked up at the imposing figure standing over him, his expression a mixture of fear and desperation. "Ah," the man sighed, a hint of amusement in his voice. "Oh," he continued, "if that's all you got, at least let out a good cry." He raised his foot, casting a shadow over the boy's trembling form. The boy cowered, his eyes wide with terror, unable to even whimper. The man uttered nonchalantly, seemingly indifferent to the boy's plight. The boy, overwhelmed by the chaos surrounding him, crumpled to the ground. "Why?" he cried out, his voice filled with anguish. "Why is this happening to me?" The crowd, their faces contorted in a mixture of shock and morbid fascination, stared down at him. Their murmurs and gasps echoed through the arena, adding to the boy's growing sense of despair. Even the imposing warrior, who had moments before exuded confidence and power, now stood in stunned silence. "Seriously?" he muttered, his voice heavy with disappointment. "What a letdown." He looked around the arena, his gaze sweeping over the bewildered faces. "Is this truly reality? He wondered aloud, his voice barely above a whisper. The boy, his own questions unanswered, remained huddled on the ground, lost in a sea of confusion and fear. The king threw his head back and roared with laughter, his voice booming through the arena. "To think the hero would be so incompetent!" he exclaimed, his words dripping with disdain. "What a farce!" The warrior, his face etched with frustration, clenched his fists. "It was foolish of me to have high hopes of someone from another world," he spat, his gaze fixed on the cowering boy. The boy, his face streaked with tears, looked up at the king, his eyes filled with despair. "It was you who summoned me against my will, so," he began, his voice trembling. I wasn't the one who wanted to be here," he finished, his voice barely a whisper. "A high school boy is unexpectedly summoned to another world to be their hero. He is immediately thrust into a duel with a powerful warrior and, terrified, accidentally activates a magic ring that incapacitates his opponent. Everyone is shocked by his apparent weakness and lack of fighting skills. The boy, traumatized and confused, cries out in despair, wondering why he was brought to this world against his will. The king's expression shifted from amusement to one of cold fury. "Here," he growled, his voice low and menacing, "we don't tolerate incompetence." He leaned forward, his eyes boring into the boy. "Our kingdom is the land of the glorious human race," he declared, his voice rising with each word. "Stop your nonsense." The boy, still reeling from the king's previous scorn, could only stare back in stunned silence. "What?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. The king's sudden shift in demeanor, from mocking laughter to chilling threat, left the boy even more terrified and uncertain of his fate. "This is not right," someone shouted from the crowd. Two men carried the unconscious boy away from the arena, his limp body a stark contrast to the earlier excitement. "Set the location for the mountain range," a commanding voice ordered. A large mirror shimmered into existence, its surface swirling with an eerie light. "Throw that trash back to the mirror," the voice continued, its tone laced with contempt. The scene shifted to the boy's perspective. He found himself hurtling through a dark void, his body battered and bruised. "Enjoy your sightseeing in another world, Hiro-sama," a voice sneered, echoing through the darkness. "That mirror will take you to hell." The boy, his mind still reeling from the events in the arena, could only brace for the impact as he was flung towards an uncertain fate. "Don't mess with me," the voice warned, its chilling echo the last thing the boy heard before darkness consumed him. The boy crashed into a new world, greeted by a grinning man and a crowd of shadowy figures. He was clearly unwelcome. A high school boy is summoned to another world to be their hero, but is quickly deemed incompetent and thrown into a portal to another world. There, he is met with a new set of menacing figures, and vows revenge on those who have wronged him. The boy lay sprawled on the cold ground, his body battered and bruised. "I will have my revenge," he muttered, his voice filled with a bitter determination. A young girl with wild, flowing hair appeared before him, her expression unreadable. "Revenge," she echoed, her voice a chilling whisper. "I will," she continued, her words trailing off, leaving her intentions ominously unclear. The boy, unaware of the girl's presence, remained lost in his thoughts of vengeance, his mind consumed by the injustices he had suffered. The girl's expression hardened, her eyes narrowing with a fierce intensity. "Revenge," she hissed, her voice low and menacing. "I will get it against those humans." Her hands clenched into claws, her nails digging into her palms. A look of concern flashed across her face. Did he go mad? She wondered, her voice laced with worry, but the concern quickly vanished, replaced by a chilling resolve. "I will end your suffering," she declared, her voice filled with a dark determination. The girl knelt beside the boy, her expression a mixture of curiosity and concern. "I will have my," she began, her voice trailing off as she studied him. "Human creature," she murmured, tilting her head. "Were you abandoned by your kind?" she asked, her voice soft and gentle. The boy, still lost in his thoughts of revenge, groaned in response, his body aching from his ordeal. The girl's eyes widened in alarm as she noticed the extent of his injuries. "MJH," she grunted, her concern growing. Suddenly, she cried out in pain. "Gah!" Her body convulsed, and she clutched at her chest, her face contorted in agony. The boy, startled by her sudden outburst, looked up at her, his own pain momentarily forgotten. The boy, his body racked with coughs, struggled to breathe. Blood trickled down his chin, staining his uniform. "Thou!" A voice echoed, its source unseen. The boy's eyes widened in fear as he realized he was not alone. He tried to speak, but only a choked gasp escaped his lips. He felt a growing sense of dread, his heart pounding in his chest. The girl leaned close to the boy, her face etched with concern. "Do you want to live?" she asked, her voice urgent. The boy, his vision blurred and his body weak, could only make out her silhouette. "An angel?" he thought, his mind struggling to comprehend the situation. Or, he trailed off, unsure of what to believe. He looked at the girl, her features now coming into focus. "Is this person?" he wondered, his voice a mere whisper. Despite his pain and confusion, a glimmer of hope flickered within him. A betrayed high school boy, exiled to a hostile world, meets a girl who also hates humans. She tries to help him, but something unexpected happens. The girl's appearance transformed, her features becoming sharp and monstrous. She gripped the boy's face, her voice a guttural growl. "You will become my sidekick," she snarled, "and work for me until the day you die." The boy, his eyes wide with terror, stared at the creature before him. "Is this a devil?" he thought, his mind reeling from the sudden, horrific change. The girl's face was shrouded in shadow, her expression hidden. "It doesn't matter who it is," she declared, her voice devoid of emotion. The boy, his own face etched with fear and uncertainty, simply responded, "No." A sense of foreboding filled the air, leaving the reader to wonder what the girl's cryptic words meant and what fate awaited the boy. The scene shifted back to the arena, where the king and the warrior stood triumphantly. The crowd roared their approval, their faces filled with excitement. "I could take revenge on those people later," the warrior thought, a sinister glint in his eye. "If I could survive now," he mused, his thoughts betraying a hidden agenda. A boy is thrown into a dangerous world, meets a deceptive girl, and faces a grim fate. The girl leaned down and gently kissed the boy's lips. He lay passive, his eyes closed, seemingly unaware of the tender gesture. The girl looked down at the boy, a strange glint in her eyes. "You will live," she declared, her voice firm. She held a small, glowing object in her hand. "It's done," she said, a hint of satisfaction in her tone. The boy, still weak and confused, could only stare at her in bewilderment. The boy awoke with a start, his head pounding. "Careful, you only just came back from the dead," the girl warned, her voice gentle. "You still need to rest." He looked around, taking in the unfamiliar surroundings. "What is this place?" he wondered aloud. He tried to sit up, but a sharp pain shot through his body. "Ouch!" he cried out, collapsing back onto the makeshift bed. "It's okay," the girl said softly, her gaze lowered. She looked away, her expression filled with regret. "I can't restore your right hand to its original state," she confessed, her voice barely a whisper. "I'm sorry," she added, her voice heavy with guilt. "Seriously, you are a real pain in the ass," the girl grumbled, her face flushed. The boy smiled softly. "You already helped me enough," he replied, his voice filled with gratitude. "Huh?" the boy uttered, his eyebrows furrowed in confusion. The girl puffed out her chest, a proud expression on her face. "Someone as young and fragile as you wouldn't be able to survive in this area for long," she declared. "You should be glad that I, the respectable adult who already lives over thousands of years, was here." "Oh, I forgot to introduce myself," the girl declared, striking a dramatic pose. Who exactly are you?" the boy stammered, taken aback by her sudden energy. Listen carefully, she commanded, puffing out her chest. I am of a dragon clan known as the strongest in the world, she announced proudly, and also a rightful heir to its throne. She grinned, revealing sharp teeth. My name is Ludarigia I Aishawea, TSK. Luda clicked her tongue, a flicker of annoyance crossing her face. A mere human mocks me, she huffed. I mean, your name is too long, she added, a slight blush creeping onto her cheeks. How cheeky, she exclaimed, her voice a mix of indignation and amusement. Well, she paused, a mischievous glint in her eye. I will just call you Luda, she declared, a playful smile spreading across her face. The boy, his eyes wide with surprise, could only stammer in response. Oh, whoa. He was taken aback by her sudden shift in demeanor, from regal princess to playful child. Before, did you say that your clan is the strongest in the world? The boy asked, his tone curious. Luda, caught off guard, let out a nervous laugh. Ha! She stammered, her cheeks flushing. And now show some respect, she demanded, trying to regain her composure. The mighty dragon clan, Luda began, her voice trailing off. Her expression hardened, and a shadow fell over her eyes. My kind, she continued, her voice cracking with emotion, was annihilated by the humans. A heavy silence filled the air. That means, the boy whispered, realizing the gravity of her words. Luda's kind, he trailed off, understanding dawning on him. Luda gazed at the desolate landscape, her expression a mixture of sadness and determination. I believe there are survivors out there somewhere, she murmured, her voice filled with hope. I will find them all, she vowed, her eyes gleaming with resolve. And one day, she trailed off, leaving her thoughts unspoken but her intentions clear. The boy's stomach growled loudly. Luda's eyes widened in alarm. Ah, sorry for trouble, she stammered, flustered. I'm sorry, I got a bit sentimental, she apologized, her cheeks flushed. I will go get you some water. She scurried away, leaving the boy alone with his rumbling stomach. Luda! The boy shouted, his voice filled with concern. Luda let out a pained groan, clutching her stomach. Suddenly, a monstrous creature emerged from the shadows, its eyes glowing menacingly. It's a monster, the boy gasped, his heart pounding in his chest. The creature snarled, its powerful jaws snapping shut. It caught the scent of the shift in chakra. Luda whimpered, her body trembling with fear. The boy's eyes widened in fear as the monstrous creature lunged towards them. He instinctively reached out to protect Luda, his own safety forgotten. He stammered, his mind racing. That's right. A voice boomed from behind the creature. The king and the warrior stood there, their expressions grim. Luda's eyes flashed with determination. I cannot die, she declared, clenching her fists. Damn it, she muttered, her voice filled with frustration. Until I find all the survivors of the dragon clan, she vowed, her gaze fixed on the menacing creature. The boy, driven by a desperate need to survive, unleashed a furious attack on the monster, catching it completely off guard. Quickly, channel it to your right hand. Luda's urgent cry pierced through the chaos of the boy's struggle with the monster. As if in response, a strange energy surged through his body, converging in his injured hand. This is chakra, he exclaimed, feeling a newfound power coursing through him. With a surge of newfound power, the boy unleashed a devastating blast from his injured hand. Boom! The raw energy sent the creature hurtling backwards, crashing against the cave wall. Luda and the boy stared in stunned silence, their eyes wide with disbelief at the sheer force of the attack. The creature lay motionless on the ground, its body slowly dissolving into dust. Are you really human? Luda stammered, her eyes wide with disbelief. I've never seen a karmic attack like this before, she whispered, still reeling from the display of power. So whether you are a dragon or some other species, I will help you out, the boy said with a kind smile. Luda looked up at him, surprised. Well, she started, a thoughtful expression on her face. Humans were the ones that abandoned me, you know? She added, her voice tinged with sadness. If I train you how to wield it, you will become quite powerful, Luda explained, a sly smile spreading across her face. But, she paused, her expression turning serious. There is something unfathomable in your power. I might become strong enough to get revenge on those bastards. The boy mused, a determined glint in his eyes. I see, Luda replied, a subtle smile playing on her lips. If you guide me, he added, his voice firm with newfound resolve. Did you forget? Luda asked, a mischievous grin spreading across her face. You have to be at least that strong, she declared, flexing her arm playfully. Of course, she continued, her voice filled with excitement. You will be my traveling companion on my quest to find the Dragon Clan survivors. Their fists met in a firm bump, a silent promise exchanged between them. And so, Luda began, a determined glint in her eyes. The boy grinned, his own resolve mirroring hers. He uttered, a playful spark in his eyes, ready to embark on their journey together. Their alliance formed, a pact sealed with a fist bump, marked the beginning of a revolution that would eventually turn their world upside down. As they sat together, sharing a meal and planning their next move, the boy noticed his injured hand was healing. I can see my bone again, he exclaimed in surprise. Luda, observing the rapid regeneration, couldn't help but curse in astonishment. This little alliance that Luda and I formed that day, he thought, a hopeful smile spreading across his face. The boy stood at the mouth of the cave, gazing out at the unfamiliar landscape. I want to squeeze some boobs, he blurted out, his voice echoing through the empty expanse. A beat of silence followed, then a realization dawned on him. If this world is my new reality, then, he trailed off, his thoughts lingering on the possibilities, both exciting and daunting, that lay ahead. The boy watched Luda as she stretched and yawned, a look of concern on his face. Suddenly, she let out a loud scream, startling him. Phew! She sighed, wiping her mouth with her hand. Why are you screaming so early in the morning? The boy asked, his voice laced with both confusion and concern. I'm not into flat chests, you know? The boy mumbled, averting his gaze from Luda. She puffed up her chest, striking a pose. Well, I am indeed a breathtaking beauty, she declared, a smug grin on her face. What is it? Why are you staring at me like that? She asked, tilting her head with a playful smirk. Is it that a man of your caliber can't resist me? She teased, her eyes sparkling with mischief. The voice of the soul, Luda mused, a thoughtful expression on her face. Is it akin to one's true feelings? She wondered aloud. I guess you could partially say that, the boy replied, considering her words. Luda continued her explanation. By unleashing it with the voice of the soul, it becomes a soul form also known as karmic energy. The boy, listening intently, felt a surge of energy coursing through him. It turns out that being truthful with one's own feelings is also part of my training, he realized, a determined glint in his eyes. Soul energy, known as chakra, is the fundamental life force that resides in all living beings, Luda concluded, emphasizing the connection between emotions and power. What's important is to look at how you truly feel inside your heart, the boy declared, his gaze steady and sincere. Luda, however, had a different perspective. But not entirely, she countered, her expression turning serious. After all, she added, the true feelings of humans are just a facade. Boobs? The boy muttered, lost in thought. You idiot, Luda scolded, snapping him back to reality. He quickly corrected himself. How I truly feel, in my heart, he declared with a newfound sincerity. Luda clenched her fists, her eyes narrowed in determination. It seems like I need to teach you through experience, she declared, a mischievous glint in her eyes. Good grief, she muttered under her breath, a sly smile playing on her lips. "That said, you'll go and procure some food," Luda instructed, pointing towards a rushing river. "Ah!" The boy responded nervously as he cautiously approached the water's edge. "Whoa! It's flowing pretty fast," he observed, his eyes widening as he felt the current's strength. He waded into the churning water, struggling to maintain his balance. "Damn it, I'm not making any progress," he grumbled, frustrated by his lack of success. "Try to imagine reshaping your body into a weapon," Luda instructed, demonstrating with a flourish. "It might have a property of reshaping the body," she explained, a mischievous glint in her eye. "Your soul form is unusual." The boy stared at her blankly. "Even if you say it like that," he mumbled, unsure how to even begin. "Fool," Luda exclaimed. "Of course you are going to use your karmic power. Procure food." The boy questioned, bewildered. "How do you expect me to?" He trailed off, still struggling to grasp the concept. A low growl echoed through the cave, sending a shiver down the boy's spine. He turned to find a large wolf-like creature emerging from the shadows, its eyes glowing menacingly. "Ah!" The boy gasped, his breath catching in his throat. He instinctively took a step back, his heart pounding in his chest. The wolf lunged, its jaws snapping shut just inches from the boy's face. "Kah!" he screamed, throwing his arms up in a desperate attempt to shield himself. "This is bad," he thought, his heart pounding in his chest. "I didn't notice it coming." The wolf's attack connected, sending the boy sprawling into the churning river. He gasped for air as he was pulled under the current, the icy water closing over his head. Disoriented and struggling, he felt himself being swept away by the powerful current. The wolf pursued relentlessly, its jaws snapping at the boy's heels as he was swept along by the current. "Ajich!" he screamed, terror gripping his heart. "Am I really gonna die this time?" he thought, despair washing over him. "I let my guard down," he realized with a sinking feeling. "This guy is dead serious on hunting me down. I don't want to die." The boy thought desperately, his vision blurring as he struggled against the current. Images flashed through his mind. The king's cruel laughter, the warrior's scornful gaze, and Luda's encouraging smile. "I don't want to die," he repeated, his voice a silent scream swallowed by the rushing water. A surge of emotion welled up within him, a desperate yearning for life and a refusal to succumb to this grim fate. "I don't want to die." The boy's desperate cry echoed through his mind as he struggled against the crushing weight of the water. His vision blurred, memories flashing before his eyes. "Burn this feeling into your mind. Burn it!" An inner voice urged him on. His survival instinct kicked in, a primal urge to live flaring within him. "Ignite!" The boy's desperate cry echoed through the rushing water as his survival instincts took over. A surge of raw power erupted from within, his soul form igniting with a blinding flash. The water around him churned violently as the unleashed energy crackled and pulsed. The boy, his eyes wide with shock and determination, rode the wave of his newfound power. Luda pondered, observing the boy as he ventured deeper into the cave. He moved with a newfound confidence, his footsteps echoing through the cavern. "Whirly!" he yelled, his voice resonating off the walls. Luda followed close behind, a curious expression on her face. "It looks like you figured something out," she remarked, a hint of pride in her voice. After that incident, their harsh life in the mountains continued. The boy honed his newfound abilities, battling wild creatures and learning to harness his soul form. Luda guided him, pushing him to grow stronger and overcome every challenge they faced. Together, they faced the dangers of their new reality, their bond deepening with each passing day. A monstrous bear emerged from the shadows, its towering form casting a long shadow over the boy. He gasped, his eyes widening in fear as the creature let out a deafening roar. The bear lunged, its massive paws swiping at the boy with terrifying speed. He barely managed to dodge the attack, his heart pounding in his chest. "Grr!" The bear growled, its hot breath washing over the boy's face. Trapped and terrified, He braced himself for the next attack. The bear loomed over the boy, its massive form blocking out the light. Thud, the impact of its paw sent the boy flying. Thwack! He crashed against the cave wall, his body racked with pain. I think so. Luda's voice reached him through the haze. Is this the king of the mountain? The boy wondered, his vision blurring. I see, Luda responded, her voice grim. I think you are ready, she added, a newfound determination in her tone. Does it mean that? The boy began, his voice trailing off as he looked at Luda. She stood confidently, her gaze fixed on the horizon. There is no point in staying here forever, right? She stated, her voice filled with a quiet determination. Ready for what? The boy asked, his brow furrowed in confusion. We are going down the mountain, Luda announced, her face beaming with excitement. That's right, she added, her enthusiasm growing with every word. The boy's eyes widened in surprise, a grin spreading across his face. I finally graduated from survival life? He exclaimed, his voice filled with disbelief and joy. Are you talking about the man you aimed to defeat? Luda asked, glancing at the boy beside her. He nodded, his gaze fixed on the towering mountain peak in the distance. No wonder that guy called it the hell that no one comes back from, he replied, his voice filled with a mix of determination and apprehension. We were really up on such a high mountain, huh? He added, marveling at the sheer scale of their previous home. They were calling him a guardian deity or something like that, the boy recalled, his gaze fixed on the imposing figure standing atop the distant peak. Yeah, Luda confirmed, her voice low. A karmic user whose soul form is an incredibly large sword. You are not incompetent though, Luda stated, her voice firm. The boy looked at her in surprise. So when you formed a ring karmic, she continued, it's no surprise they would call you incompetent. The boy's expression shifted to one of understanding. Originally, karmic is something that manifests after years of training by those who possess a good chakra aptitude, Luda explained. But you, she paused, you formed it the moment you arrived in this world. The boy's eyes widened in realization. I've heard that humans determine the ranks of karmic users by the form and size of their karmic, he recalled, piecing together the reason for their initial dismissal. Determined, the boy declares, that's right. With the power I wield, I will surely defeat that guy. His confidence is clear, yet his voice carries a hint of doubt. Luda, standing firm beside him, points at him with fiery conviction and says, hold your head high. Moreover, it was I and that mountain who personally trained you. He responds quietly, yeah, his resolve slowly hardening, ready to face the battles that lie ahead. With a playful grin, Luda looks back at the boy and says, certainly you will. In the meantime, I'll have you use that power to protect me. The boy, a bit flustered, responds eagerly, ah, of course. As he catches up to her, she adds, you have to pay me back for the hard training I gave you. There is someone here? The boy wondered aloud, his eyes fixed on a lone figure standing before a small dwelling nestled amongst the trees. Eh? Luda responded, turning her attention towards the figure. We need to find a place to rest, she added, her gaze sweeping across the surrounding landscape. Do you know him? The boy asked Luda, his eyes fixed on the old man standing in the doorway. No, she replied, her brow furrowed in thought. However, I have a suspicion. The boy turned his attention back to the old man. No, what is this nostalgic chakra? He wondered aloud, a sense of familiarity washing over him. This is, he paused, recognition dawning on him. Old man, sovereign of the dragon clan, Lady Luderigia I Aishawaya-sama, and the old man trailed off, his eyes twinkling as he looked at the two young figures before him. I've been waiting for you, he said, a warm smile spreading across his face. Tawa Kazuki-sama. The old man finished, his eyes twinkling as he looked at the boy. Tawa's eyes widened in surprise. He knows my name? He thought, a wave of curiosity washing over him. Luda's eyes sparkled with delight as she surveyed the feast laid out before them. "Whoa!" she exclaimed, her mouth watering at the sight of the delicious spread. "Oh dear, I haven't had such a delicious meal in 600 years, Luda exclaimed, savoring the food with delight. "I'm delighted to hear that you're pleased," the old man replied, a warm smile on his face as he watched the two enjoy the feast. Tawa, sitting beside Luda, ate quietly, his mind still processing the recent events. "Somehow he also knew our names," Luda pondered aloud, her brow furrowed in thought. Drop! A piece of food slipped from her chopsticks and fell back onto her plate. A human suddenly appeared out of nowhere. She continued, her voice trailing off as she considered the strangeness of the situation. "It seems you need an explanation," the old man offered, noticing Luda's perplexed expression. "Ah, no," she replied, her cheeks flushing slightly. "Is it not to your liking?" the old man inquired, concerned. Tawa, observing the exchange, voiced his own concern. "How can we trust him so easily?" he asked, his brow furrowed in suspicion. "That seems about right, but they don't raise livestock," the boy mused, observing the drawings on the wall. "Something like nomads," the old man nodded. "They are the traveling folk who wander around the world to share its current state and the right way to exist." He gestured towards another drawing. "They believe that world's natural soul energy emits the voice of the stars, and, hearing it, they gather the intelligence." He pointed to a final image. "In this world, there exist beings who listen to the stars." The wise elder, with a serene expression, speaks to the gathered audience. "Sharing this kind of knowledge with the people has protected many lives since ancient times," he explains. "For example, through hearing the voice of the stars, we can foresee disasters." A follower nods in agreement, adding, "It is as Luterigia-sama has said, the soul energy emanating from nature's living matter can tell us many things," the old man explained, his voice filled with reverence. He gestured towards an intricate drawing depicting a tree with roots that intertwined with the surrounding environment. The image seemed to pulsate with a life of its own, a visual representation of the interconnectedness between all living things. "Ah, it's like a superpower," Luda remarked, her eyes wide with fascination. "By reading the flow of chakra, you can discern the other person's thoughts, actions, and even their future," she explained, pointing to a drawing depicting two figures connected by swirling lines of energy. "Indeed," the old man chimed in, "the chakra humans emit is no different." "That's what the voice of the stars told me," the old man said, a serene expression on his face. "My task is to guide you both to your next destination." "What should be our next destination?" Luda wondered aloud, tapping her finger on her cheek in thought. Then let us hear it," she declared, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "The place you two should head to is," the old man began, his voice taking on a serious tone. Luda and Tawa exchanged glances, anticipation hanging in the air. "The kingdom of the demi-humans," the old man continued, "known as Finonfin." He gestured towards a bustling city filled with a diverse array of humanoid creatures, their unique features hinting at a vibrant and fascinating culture. "There is a chance Luda's kind might have been there," the boy mused, a hopeful glint in his eyes. "The legends of the mythical beasts among demi-humans. Because there are indeed legends of mythical beasts that have been passed down in that land," the old man explained, nodding in agreement. Luda pondered, a thoughtful expression on her face. "I also thought about that place," she admitted. "No matter how you look at it, he is too well prepared," Luda remarked, a hint of suspicion in her voice. "I'm in your debt, Ajizan," Tawa said gratefully to the old man. "And here is the map of the area," the old man replied, presenting a detailed map to the two travelers. "In order to reach it, you must pass through the human kingdom," he explained, pointing to a marked location on the map. "For that purpose," he continued, handing Tawa a small, intricately designed object. "Here is a travel pass." Click, the object snapped open, revealing a symbol that seemed to pulse with a faint energy. "I have prepared a change of clothes for you," the old man announced, gesturing towards an unseen area. "Please come this way," he added. Moreover, it would be inappropriate to wander the land of humans in that attire. Tawa and Luda exchanged glances, a mix of surprise and curiosity on their faces. "With these, I look like a knight," Tawa exclaimed, striking a pose in his new attire. "Whoa, it's looking good," Luda cheered, twirling in her own outfit. "Tadama!" they declared in unison, ready to embark on the next chapter of their adventure. "Lady Luderigia-sama," the old man cautioned, "please make sure to wear your cloak properly." "Achoo!" Luda sneezed, momentarily distracted. Plop, her cloak slipped off her shoulders. "You better not fall for me," Tawa teased, a playful grin spreading across his face. "My outfit might be a bit too stimulating for you," Luda retorted, striking a confident pose. "There are many who lament that they should have been kept alive as slaves." The old man trailed off, his expression turning grim. "Particularly the elven race believed to be extinct is famous for its beautiful appearance." He continued, "In the previous years, humans have treated demi-humans as slaves, and although they have recently concluded a peace treaty with them." Luta listened intently, her eyes wide with understanding. "Gold and silver hair are characteristics of the ancient species," she acknowledged. "It's hard to stay safe in this cruel world," she added, a hint of sadness in her voice. "I know how vicious humans can be." The old man nodded in agreement. "Prejudice against other species is still deeply rooted," he said. "It would be better to keep that hair hidden." "Well," Tawa began, a thoughtful expression on his face. "She was able to form it in the past, but now—" He trailed off, his gaze meeting Luda's. "Come to think of it," he continued, "can't Luda unleash her karmic armor? And sorry that I don't have anything to give you in return." The old man apologized, his head bowed. "Don't worry about it," Tawa replied with a kind smile. "Thank you so much for all you have done." Luda looked at the two with a thoughtful expression. "You should depart tomorrow at dawn," the old man suggested. "Take it easy and get some good rest tonight." Leaving that aside, he began, his tone shifting. "You should." He trailed off, deep in thought. "My first and last duty as one who listens to the voice of the stars," the old man declared, his voice resonating with a newfound gravity. "Because this is—" He paused, his gaze fixed on Tawa and Luda, a hint of sadness in his eyes. "Have a safe journey," the old man said, a warm smile gracing his lips as he bid farewell to Tawa and Luda. "Thank you for everything," they replied in unison, their voices filled with gratitude. They turned and walked away from the dwelling, their figures growing smaller against the backdrop of the vast landscape. Tawa and Luda, guided by an old man, leave their mountain hideout and head towards the demi-human kingdom, Finan, in search of Luda's people and to confront those who wronged them. "He was neither good or bad," Tawa mused, reflecting on the old man they had just left behind. A soft smile spread across his face as he continued his thought. He was a good person. He and Luda continued their journey, their footsteps carrying them further away from the old man's dwelling and towards their uncertain future. "So that's how it is?" Tawa wondered aloud, his gaze fixed on the sky above. "Such is the fate of those who follow the guidance of the voice of the stars," he mused, contemplating the profound words of the old man. "So," the old man trailed off, his hands clasped together. "With this, I have fulfilled my role." He closed his eyes, a peaceful expression settling on his face. "May the stars guide you," he whispered, his voice fading as his body began to dissolve into dust, carried away by the gentle breeze. Tawa paused, glancing back at the spot where the old man had stood moments before. He then turned his gaze towards the sky, watching as a shower of shimmering lights cascaded down from the heavens. With a renewed sense of purpose, he and Luda continued their journey, their figures growing smaller against the vast expanse of the starlit sky. "We are here," Tawa announced, his voice filled with a mix of excitement and anticipation. Luda's eyes widened as she took in their surroundings. She hummed, reaching into her bag and pulling out a small package. So, it seems we have to pass through that gate, Tawa said, his eyes fixed on the imposing structure ahead. Before them stood the entrance to the human kingdom, Zipronica, a heavily fortified frontier checkpoint teeming with people. Ha! Tawa exclaimed, his eyes widening in surprise as he noticed the large crowd gathered at the checkpoint. But what's with this crowd? He wondered aloud. Let's get in line for now, Luda suggested, her gaze scanning the throng of people. Is something special happening today? She pondered, curious about the unusual commotion. Tawa's brow furrowed as he sensed a familiar presence within the crowd. It feels familiar, he thought, his senses heightened. This chakra, he realized, his eyes widening in shock. No way, he breathed, a sense of dread creeping over him. I'm exhausted, Luda sighed, leaning against Tawa. Let's go, Luda, he said gently, offering her a supporting hand. All right, she replied, taking his hand and gathering her strength. I'm not interested in a victory parade, the warrior declared, his expression grim as he lay bandaged and bruised. Let's just get it over with quickly, he added, his voice weary. Tawa's eyes narrowed as he observed the scene unfolding before him.